Hey fellow babies, welcome back to the Pachter Factor on SIFTD.net. I am hopeful you're a Patreon patron. If you are, thank you so much. If you're an Amazon Prime member and not a patron, please link your Prime account to your Twitch account, link below. Really easy, and Amazon pays us, you don't get charged, so it's free money for us, cost you nothing except click the link below. This week, our first question from Patreon from John Ba DK. How much does Sony and Microsoft know about each other's consoles? What a great question. Do they actively try to uncover that information? Do they have spies? I don't know, and I don't know, but I would be disappointed in each company if they didn't try. I can't think of anybody that I know who has gone from one of those companies to the other, but I will tell you that they each have to give specs on their new consoles to developers, and none of them want to launch with, only first-party games. So let's just say perennial titles, Call of Duty, FIFA, games that come out every single year. There's somebody at Activision and somebody at EA who knows what the specs are. Are they talking? I mean, probably they're not picking up the phone and calling the console manufacturer and saying, you should see what Sony's doing. They might be bitching and moaning and saying, and I'm just using a stupid example from the last generation, oh God, you have DDR RAM? Well, Sony has GDDR RAM, and I don't even know what the freaking G is graphics, but I don't know the difference. I couldn't even explain it to you. I just know that it was a real big difference, and I don't know that Microsoft or Sony knew that the other was doing it. I think they're gonna just find out by developers bitching and moaning if one has a good feature and the other doesn't. I'm sure they hear that, even though they're under non-disclosure. I'm sure they do. I'm sure that a developer who's working on a game will be talking to a friend who's like, oh my God, this is so cool. I got these new consoles. I can't tell you anything about them, but they have GDDR5, whatever. And it gets out. So my bias is they don't even need to hire spies. There are enough people that know, because there are developers, that they're going to find out. And what if you work for Sony Santa Monica and you're working on God of War 12 or whatever the next one is, and you get poached by Treyarch in Santa Monica? Maybe the Treyarch guys, maybe they're really close to Microsoft, and you just got poached, and you go, oh God, it's so different working for the Xboxes. Here's what we saw on the Sony console. You're going to tell your coworkers and assume they're not going to tell anything, but they may not have an NDA, non-disclosure. So the answer is yes, they do know. I don't know if they actively try, but they passively find out. I don't know that they actually hire spies, but they have spies because they have to give that information to so many people that it gets out. So I think they know, but I don't really know the answer. I don't kind of travel in those circles. I never ask anybody because I could care less. From Sifted, from Burko, I remember this guy. Major publishers swallow up smaller studios all the time, but do you think it's possible for the reverse to happen? Could or would a superstar developer ever purchase the rights to third-party IP? Could an internal studio from a major publisher ever go indie? Does it ever make fiscal sense for EA to sell a studio like Pandemic rather than shut it down? That's a good question. Well, okay, the internal studio, Bungie, went indie, so that's happened before. I'm a little surprised, that Rare hasn't spun out of EA, because they're still really good. I just think that, from Microsoft, excuse me. They're still really good, but they just really haven't. I think they're constrained with the Xbox, and I like them better when they're making stuff for Nintendo consoles. I think they're super competent, talented studio. For a superstar developer to purchase the rights to third-party IP, I don't know what third-party IP you'd want to buy, but Bungie's got a lot of money. They could. I don't know if they would do it. Bethesda's got a lot of money. I don't think they would do it. Valve could do it. Epic could do it, but I don't really think they will. I mean, they could. If you have enough money, you can buy anything. But I don't know that. I think it's interesting. I think the guys who own IP that's susceptible to making games like Star Wars, they want established public companies that they can embarrass into doing a good job. So I think Disney won't work with with anybody other than EA or Activision or Take-Two. I don't think they would work with an independent developer. Sports guys, no. I think they want to work with big publishers. So I don't see them selling third-party IP. I mean, I could see, Bethesda buying the rights to, field hockey or bowling or something, but I don't think they're going to. So I don't see that. And again, I'm not sure reverse. Small guy buying big. I've heard Take-Two talking about dry powder to buy a publisher or studio all the time. Bethesda's going to be sold to somebody, and it could be sold to a small guy. And if you're Bethesda, would you rather work for the guys who treat Rockstar the way Take-Two treats Rockstar, which is take your time and do whatever the hell you want? Or would you rather work for EA or Activision, who might start telling you what to do? I don't know. I mean, I don't know that EA will, but I think Bethesda would prefer to be owned by somebody who lets them do their thing and makes them rich. But no, I don't think you're going to see anybody buy somebody bigger than them. I don't see it. I don't see anybody buying third-party IP. I do see internal studios going indie. I think it would have made much more sense for EA to sell Pandemic and Visceral, even for $5 million, just to let them sell it to the employees. I think if EA would have said to Pandemic, hey guys, instead of shutting you down, we're going to give you the rights to all the IP. But I mean, why does EA need to keep that IP? Let it go. Here you go. I mean, I guess maybe you don't want to give away Dead Space, but it just
the problem
seems like
is the studio's value is all built on this IP.
So the guys who leave, let them buy the IP from you.
Yeah.
Say you guys can go off and be independent, raise 10, 20, 50 million bucks, buy your IP back from us, and go do your thing. That would be a very charitable thing to do. So I wish that would happen. It probably won't. Midway sold off when they went bankrupt Mortal Kombat and the studio. And those guys have thrived ever since. Warhammer 40,000 got sold.
All of it, pretty much at this point.
The Blob, yeah. But again, THQ Nordic didn't pay much for it. I mean, I bet it was single-digit millions. Anyway, all right, that's my answer. I don't know if that's good. From Patreon, our next question from Jerome Archambault. Do you think frequent updates to games are problematic for eSports? Most organized sports feature games that don't change much. World of Warcraft is now so different from when I played it that I can't even follow its tournaments. Games with dedicated player bases tend to do best, so this seems counterproductive. I think that's a great question, and I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, I think that the answer is yes, frequent updates are problematic, and I think that people talk about Overwatch 2. Is there ever going to be an Overwatch 2? The reason I think we're talking in terms of Overwatch 2 is it's really hard to iterate Overwatch 1. It's like you have an esports team. How do you create a new character class in Overwatch? How do you create new characters within the class in Overwatch? They do, they haven't done new class, but they've done new characters. But your teams already have all the characters and stuff, and the guys playing it, I mean, obviously they're good and they'll learn a new character. But the issue with the game, and same with World of Warcraft, balance among the character classes. And so if you end up with a character in a class that's better than the other ones, everybody's going to want to be that character. And I remember I played World of Warcraft as well. And I remember there was like some wizard was like the strongest possible character, and then they came up with a Death Knight, I think it was called, and this Death Knight could beat everybody. And everybody bitched and moaned until they changed all the balancing, and then the Death Knight suddenly wasn't the best character, and you could actually be a dwarf and kick everybody's ass or whatever. I can't remember what the characters were because it was 04, 05, but they constantly tweak it to keep it balanced, but that wasn't esports back in 05. Now, yeah, you're right. The balance throws off the guys who are trying to make a living playing the game. So the best way to do this is make all the feature changes in Overwatch 2, launch a new game, let the esports guys have a year, and then switch your tournaments from Overwatch 1 to Overwatch 2. I don't know the answer because nobody's making any money on esports right now except the players. So far it hasn't made a lot of difference. But I think that consumers will be delighted if there's big changes, but consumers prefer gradual changes. You'd rather pay as you go, for gradual changes because it's only a few bucks a month rather than have to spend another $60 and play a whole new game. So it's a tough one. I mean, it's a really, really good question. I don't know the answer. Great question. They're going to figure it out. I think the right way to deal with esports is to make the game free. And if it's free to play, you can update as often as you want, and no consumer's ever going to complain about free stuff. So keep giving consumers free stuff. Let the eSports guys figure out which version they want to play, which might be version 2.0 and nothing after that. And then they can update the league, a year later to take all the stuff for the prior year and give themselves time. That's more likely what'll happen. Last question from SIFTD from Rewind Replay. This year has brought a lot of layoffs from major publishers like Activision Blizzard and EA. Why are there so many layoffs right now? Shouldn't publishers be staffing up for Gen 9 consoles instead of cutting jobs? Wow. Yeah, they should, but unfortunately, when you spend ahead of revenue, which is what you asked, when you spend money on talent before you generate the revenue, you have to see your spending generating what they call a return on your investment. So if you build up a team, and let's say to make Heroes of the Storm the next great esport, and they work on it for a couple of years and it doesn't become the next great esport, you have to rethink, should we have 100 people working on that, or do we need 5? And so I don't know. I picked that as an example. I have no idea what happened internally at Activision. Activision, I believe their statement that they're beefing up parts of the company that generate more revenue, and they're cutting costs where where they have spread out the functions and it makes more sense to consolidate, like marketing. Did Bungie have a dedicated marketing team at Activision for Destiny? Yes. Do you need those people anymore? No, you don't own Destiny anymore. Did Heroes of the Storm have its own esports group? I don't know, probably. Different from Hearthstone, different from Overwatch? Maybe you can consolidate those functions at Blizzard and have one team work on all 3, and maybe you lose a third of the people. And I think that's the kind of stuff that they did. So it makes sense to consolidate when it's efficient to have fewer people working in a particular sector. What about people who deal with retailers on physical copies of games? Again, I don't know how many people there were in distribution and marketing for physical retail. Whatever that number, revenues from distribution and marketing and physical retail is down 30 or 40% in the last 5 years. Do you need as many people doing it? No. So I think that's the kind of consolidation you're seeing. Now there's some stuff like just flat out, like EA shut down their Russia and Japan offices. I don't know why they had them, and I don't mean that I'm questioning it. I don't know why they had them. I mean, they clearly had some plans in Japan and Russia, and the way the press release read, those plans aren't panning out the way they expected. And they had over-invested because they expected something to happen in Japan and Russia that's not happening the way they expected it. So, if you get hired from any company to go open up the market in a certain place, and then you fail and you don't open the market, why should they keep paying you? Should they keep trying if it's not going to happen? Let's say you try to sell hamburgers in India, and I picked that because Indians don't eat beef, or Hindus don't eat beef. If you try to open up McDonald's in India, guess what? You don't have a lot of job security. It's not going to work. You try to sell Farmer John pork hot dogs in a Muslim nation. It's not going to work.
Ice cream in Alaska.
Huh? Ice cream in Alaska. Ice to Eskimos. It's not going to work. So I think sometimes these guys are flush with cash and they try things. So a current example. Epic opens up the Epic store. I have no idea how many people work there. Let's say 100. What if it doesn't work? What if Valve kicks their butt, Steam kicks their butt? Those 100 people don't have job security. So they're kind of told when they get hired, here's your job. Like, hey, you get hired to work on Fortnite before they launch. If it works, you're going to make a lot of money. If it doesn't work, you're probably not going to have a job. So that's what I think is going on. And the truth is, EA was supposed to make $4.85 this year. They're now going to make $3.85. And that dollar a share is $300 million of profit. So their profit, who knows if their guidance is correct, but their profit is $300 million less than they expected. And they cut a few hundred jobs. I mean, it wasn't a million jobs, it was 350 or something. Activision made $2.60 a share last year. They're guiding to $2.10 this year. It's 50 cents less on 760 million shares. That's $380 million of net profit that they're not getting. 380 million. They cut, I think they said 800 jobs. I think it was 800.
Like
So
a little under 1,000.
yeah, 800 jobs is about $80 million. I mean, it's a lot of money, but they're going to make 380 million less. So they cut 80 million in costs because they're making less profit. Let me phrase it this way for you. If your pay goes down, do you keep eating out as often? Do you keep buying a new car as frequently? Do you buy a more expensive apartment? No, you cut your costs. If your pay goes down, you cut your costs. Their profit went down, they cut their costs. The victim of that are the employees who obviously don't have jobs anymore. And the way that those employees were selected was based upon where a company like Activision EA could be more efficient and centralize services. And I think the truth is when Activision cut 800 jobs, they probably cut 1,200 jobs and created 400 new jobs in other areas. And they gave those 1,200 people they were cutting an opportunity to bid on those 400 new jobs. And they picked the best that they could. But it's unfortunate, people did lose their jobs. That's why I would encourage you as an employee, if you're an employee, don't be loyal to your employer because they won't be loyal to you. Be loyal in terms of doing the best work you can do and not divulging company secrets and never betray your employer. But consider other offers because honestly, if your company, that wherever you work, if they see a downturn in profits, you're expendable. That's it for this week's Pachter Factor. Thanks for joining us as a Patreon patron on SIFTD.net. If you are not a patron and you're a Prime member, please sign up and link your Twitch and Amazon Prime accounts. The link is right below. If you can't do either of those because you're too lame or you're not a Prime member and you have no money, follow me on Twitter at Michael Pachter, follow Shane at Dinfire, follow SIFTD at SIFTD Games. Appreciate your patronage. We will see you next week. The one thing I would caution all of you, don't change jobs more frequently than 2 years because it looks bad on your resume. It looks like you're the problem, not the company. If you leave every year, it makes a prospective employer wonder, are you just always dissatisfied? And I don't want to hire somebody who's only going to work for me for a year. If 2 years, we all accept, especially when you're young, your career opportunities got better. And if I see you moving up in your career, I'm fine with that. My challenge is to keep you moving up or you're going to leave. If you had 8 jobs in 8 years and they're all laterals, I think you're a flake and I won't hire you. So leave when you can get more money because you owe it to yourself and to your family. And be loyal only insofar as you respect your employer, give them an honest day's work for an honest day's pay, and don't betray their secrets. But other than that, if you get a better offer, go for it.